Welcome back to the channel, everyone. If you spend enough time standing around the display cases at your local gun shop, you are bound to hear a lot of outdated myths. You know exactly the kind of FUD lore I am talking about. There is always someone claiming that lever-action rifles belong in a museum. They will confidently tell you these platforms are nothing more than short-range brush guns. They swear up and down that a lever gun taps out at 150 yards, and that it has absolutely zero business competing against a modern bolt-action rifle in the accuracy department. Well, as someone who spends countless hours on the range testing these weapon systems, I am here to tell you that narrative is dead and buried. The firearms industry has evolved, and the platforms we are analyzing today have completely rewritten the tactical and practical rulebook. We are looking at engineered systems capable of stacking sub-MOA groups right out of the factory box, as long as you do your part and feed them premium, heavy-grain ammunition. A couple of the specific rifles on our list today have completely ditched the traditional tubular feeding system. They are utilizing advanced box magazines, which finally gives you the green light to run modern, aerodynamically pointed projectiles with high ballistic coefficients. That was an absolute safety hazard with old-school tube magazines, where a pointed bullet resting against the primer of the round ahead of it could trigger a catastrophic chain fire. Before you head to the gun store and drop a massive chunk of change on a new hunting rig, you need to see the data on these modern lever guns. These are definitely not the dusty antiques you saw in vintage Western movies. Let us dive right into the data and examine which modern lever actions are pushing 21st century ballistics while maintaining that incredibly fast manual of arms heritage. Number 5. The Smith Wesson Model 1854. When an absolute industry powerhouse like Smith Wesson decides to re-enter the lever-action arena after decades on the sidelines, you need to pay attention. They did not just test the waters here, they breached the perimeter. The Model 1854 is a fascinating hybrid that bridges the gap between historical heritage and modern tactical utility. They are pushing this platform out in various chamberings, starting from the venerable 357 Magnum all the way up to the bone-crushing 4570 Government. For our analysis today, we are going to focus on the 30-30 Winchester variant. Up front, you are getting a 20-inch cold hammer-forged barrel. That is an exceptionally high-quality tube, utilizing a 1 in 10 right-hand twist with 6-groove rifling to perfectly stabilize those mid-weight projectiles. Right off the rack, this rifle weighs exactly 7 pounds empty. In my experience, that is the ultimate sweet spot for a field gun. It has enough mass to tame the recoil impulse, but it remains light enough to carry through the Appalachian timber from sunrise to sunset. Let us break down the internal mechanics. Smith & Wesson opted for a forged 416 stainless steel receiver. If you are a hunter who refuses to pack up when the freezing rain hits, that corrosion resistance is an absolute lifesaver. The heart of the gun uses a battle-tested toggle link action, combined with a traditional exposed hammer and a very tactile crossbolt safety. Ammunition is fed through a classic tubular magazine with a 6+1 capacity for the 30-30. Thankfully, they included a side-loading gate, allowing you to intuitively top off the weapon while maintaining your cheek weld and keeping your eyes downrange. But the feature that truly brings this into the modern era is at the muzzle. It comes factory-threaded at 5/8 by 24. Running a dedicated suppressor on a lever gun drastically reduces your noise signature and felt recoil, and having that capability out of the box on a rifle in this weight class is incredibly rare. When we look at the ballistic performance data, the results are solid. Running Hornady lever evolution ammunition, experienced shooters are grouping right around 2 inches at the 50-yard line. Independent testing confirms this translates to roughly 4 MOA overall. Let us be completely transparent about application here. That level of precision is more than adequate for ethically taking a whitetail deer inside 150 yards. However, you should not confuse this with a heavy-barreled precision rifle. The synthetic furniture is rugged, it ignores horrible weather, and it shaves off unnecessary weight. Of course, if you are a traditionalist, Smith & Wesson does offer a classic wood furniture package. This specific platform is designed for the modern outdoorsman who wants a fast-handling, manually operated rifle, but insists on weatherproof stainless construction and suppressor compatibility. Understand your ballistic limitations. Keep your engagements inside 200 yards, and this rifle will never let you down. Number 4. The Henry Big Boy Steel Carbine. How do you engineer a carbine to be incredibly nimble in the hands, yet rugged enough to handle heavy use? The Henry Big Boy Steel Carbine, specifically chambered in .357 Magnum, executes that mission flawlessly. This was Henry's direct response to shooters who absolutely loved their notoriously smooth actions, but demanded the structural integrity of a steel receiver in a highly maneuverable footprint. The barrel is chopped down to a very handy 16.5 inches. Whether you are pushing through dense coastal brush or need a reliable tool to keep secured behind the seat of your truck, this length is optimal. That round steel profile features a 1 in 16 twist rate. That specific twist is perfectly calibrated to stabilize a massive variety of bullet weights across both the .357 Magnum and .38 Special Spectrum. Without ammunition, this carbine tips the scale at an incredibly light 6.59 pounds. That makes it one of the most agile, fast-pointing steel lever guns on the market right now. You will also notice the oversized, large loop lever. That is not just a cosmetic upgrade. If you are running thick winter gloves in freezing temperatures, that extra clearance ensures you can aggressively cycle the action without binding up your hand. From a mechanical standpoint, Henry finally integrated the side-loading gate that the entire firearms community had been demanding. They paired that with their traditional removable tube magazine, giving you a very respectable 7+1 capacity. The ignition system relies on an exposed hammer, but it is heavily modernized with a rebounding firing pin and a transfer bar safety mechanism. It is an incredibly drop-safe design that guarantees the weapon will not discharge unless you deliberately press the trigger to the rear. Moving on to the accuracy data. Extensive range testing demonstrates this compact carbine easily holds 2.4 to 2.6 MOA groups. That data was pulled using premium 158-grain defensive and hunting loads from manufacturers like Winchester and Black Hills. Getting that kind of consistency from a pistol-caliber carbine with a short barrel is impressive. If you are hunting medium-sized game, your ethical engagement distance is solid out to 100 yards. You do need to factor in the ballistic penalty of that chopped barrel, however. You will bleed off roughly 100 to 150 feet per second in muzzle velocity when compared to a traditional 20-inch barrel. But honestly, the sheer speed at which you can drive this gun between targets heavily outweighs that minor velocity loss. It points naturally. The recoil impulse of the .357 Magnum is barely noticeable, and your split times on follow-up shots will be incredibly fast. Just keep your operational environment in mind. This is a 150-yard defensive and hunting tool built entirely around speed, low recoil, and rapid target acquisition. Number 3. The Marlin 1895 Dark Series. If you need a weapon system that hits like a freight train and refuses to fail, this is your primary option. The Marlin 1895 Dark Series takes the legendary, bone-crushing 4570 government cartridge and houses it inside a completely modernized tactical framework. Do not let the blacked-out, aggressive styling fool you into thinking this is just a range toy. This platform brings devastating big-bore energy to the table. Built exclusively for the 4570 government, the Dark Series utilizes a compact 16.17-inch barrel. It is cold hammer forged to withstand extreme chamber pressures and utilizes a 1 in 20 twist rate. Most importantly, the muzzle is threaded 11/16 by 24. You can immediately mount a heavy-duty suppressor or an aggressive muzzle brake. Let me assure you, when you are touching off heavy 4570 loads, a quality brake makes a massive difference in managing muzzle rise. The overall weight sits right at 7 pounds, although I have seen a few production models weigh in slightly under that. Marlin went with a nylon-reinforced polymer stock and integrated MLOK attachment points directly into the handguard. That modularity allows you to easily mount high-lumen weapon lights or IR lasers for night hunting, while ensuring the furniture will never warp or crack in humid environments. Let us look at the core mechanics. This rifle is built on the incredibly robust Model 1895 action. That means you get a thick, solid top receiver that makes mounting modern optics incredibly rigid and secure. It utilizes a side ejection system and locks up tight with a massive 6-lug rotary bolt. Your onboard capacity is 5+1 inside the tubular magazine. Marlin also retains the crossbolt safety, which gives you a secondary mechanical block when moving through dangerous terrain. Looking at the range reports and accuracy metrics, field testing shows that with standard factory ammunition and iron sights, shooters are keeping 5-shot strings inside a 5-inch circle at the 100-yard line. That equates to about 5 MOA. Let us be completely practical here. For an iron-sighted, short-barreled, heavy thumper, that is highly effective accuracy for real-world hunting scenarios. However, when you mount a quality low-power variable optic and feed it meticulously crafted hand loads, you can shrink those groups down to a very respectable 3 MOA. With that kind of glass, you can ethically stretch this platform out to 200 yards on large, heavy-boned game. The terminal ballistics of the 4570 are staggering. Pushing a modern 300-grain projectile, you are dumping over 2,000 foot-pounds of kinetic energy right at the muzzle. This platform is an absolute sledgehammer. If you are heading into bear country or tracking elk and moose in dense cover, this is exactly what you want slung across your chest. You do sacrifice a bit of velocity with the 16-inch barrel, but when you are navigating thick brush or need a dedicated guide gun that can be deployed in a fraction of a second, the compact maneuverability is absolutely crucial. This is a premier defensive tool for dangerous game, and an outstanding weatherproof camp rifle. Number 2. The Marlin 336 Classic. For well over 7 decades, there has been one specific rifle action that dominated American hunting culture. The Marlin 336 Classic, specifically chambered in .30-30 Winchester, is the definition of a reliable, working-class firearm. The most important update regarding this platform is that Ruger has completely taken over manufacturing, and they have restored the strict quality control standards that this iconic rifle absolutely requires. The barrel on this new production model sits at 20.25 inches, utilizing a 1-in-12 right-hand twist over 6 grooves. Because Ruger is utilizing a cold hammer-forged process, the thermal stability and repeatable accuracy of these barrels are phenomenal. Unloaded, the rifle weighs exactly 7.5 pounds. That weight provides a very solid, stable platform when you are shooting offhand, but it is not so heavy that it will fatigue you during a long movement to your blind. The American black walnut furniture is beautifully fitted and finished. Moving to the receiver design. This utilizes Marlin's signature solid top receiver paired with a side ejection port. From a practical standpoint, this is vastly superior to top ejecting models because you can easily mount a traditional magnified optic directly over the bore axis. The side ejection also allows you to quickly toss a single round directly into the open chamber if you run the gun completely dry during a stressful engagement. The tubular magazine holds 6+1 rounds of .30-30 Winchester, and it feeds with absolute reliability. So, how does the Ruger-manufactured 336 perform when the shot timer beeps? Recent independent testing yielded absolutely incredible results, averaging 1.627 inches for 5-shot groups at 100 yards. You are looking at genuine 1.6 MOA precision out of a traditional lever gun. That is, outstanding mechanical accuracy. The barrel harmonics seem to heavily favor modern loads like Hornady lever evolution and Federal Fusion. When you pair that level of mechanical precision with modern glass, a highly competent shooter can confidently take this rifle out to 250 yards. The .30-30 Winchester cartridge has survived this long for a very specific reason. It works. If you load up a 150-grain lever evolution projectile, you are driving that bullet at 2,390 feet per second out of this specific barrel. That generates well over 1,900 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. That is massive terminal performance, ensuring deep penetration and rapid expansion well beyond the 200-yard marker. The action cycles like it is on glass, and the manual of arms is deeply ingrained in anyone who grew up around firearms. You do have the modern crossbolt safety available, though many experienced. Operators simply prefer to utilize the traditional half-cock notch on the hammer. If you want a flawlessly machined, highly accurate rifle for traditional engagements inside 150 yards, this is the gold standard. Plus, you can source 30-30 ammunition at practically any hardware store or gas station in the country. Number 1. The Browning BLR. We have reached the absolute pinnacle of lever-action engineering. The Browning BLR takes every single positive attribute we have discussed today and combines it into the most structurally robust, highly accurate, and incredibly versatile weapon system in its class. Let me explain exactly why the BLR dominates the number 1 position on our list. First, we have to look at the internal action. The BLR completely abandons the traditional toggle link or sliding bolt locking mechanisms. Instead, it relies on a highly advanced gear-driven rack and pinion system that actuates a rotating multi-lug bolt head. When that bolt rotates and locks into the barrel extension, you are getting the exact same structural lockup strength as a modern precision bolt-action rifle. It is built like an absolute bank vault. Because of that massive structural integrity, Browning can safely chamber the BLR in heavy Magnum cartridges, pushing all the way up to the devastating 300 Winchester Magnum. You are getting extreme, long-range Magnum ballistics combined with the rapid cycling speed of a lever action. Second, the feeding system is entirely modernized. The BLR utilizes a flush-fitting detachable box magazine. Standard calibers hold 4+1, while the Magnum variants hold 3+1. Just like we see in the Henry Long Ranger, feeding from a box magazine means you can load aerodynamically superior, polymer-tipped Spitzer bullets. This unlocks the maximum ballistic coefficient and long-range potential of your ammunition. The variety of available chamberings is absolutely massive. You can run everything from 223 Remington for varmints to 6.5 Creedmoor, 308 Winchester, 3006 Springfield, all the way up to 300 Winchester Magnum. That caliber matrix covers literally any defensive or hunting application on the North American continent. Third, the accuracy is nothing short of clinical. Time after time, across dozens of professional evaluations, the BLR consistently delivers sub-MOA groups at 100 yards with premium match-grade ammunition. Browning equips these rifles with highly precise 20 to 24-inch barrels. To keep the rifle agile, they utilize an aerospace-grade aluminum receiver. However, all the dangerous pressure is safely contained by a heavy-duty steel barrel extension that the rotating bolt locks directly into. Even if you opt for the highly portable takedown models, the engineering is so precise that they consistently maintain their sub-MOA 0 after being repeatedly disassembled and reassembled. If you set up a BLR in 308 or 3006 with premium magnified optics, you possess a highly lethal 400-yard precision instrument. Step up to the 6.5 Creedmoor or the 300 Winchester Magnum, and a trained marksman can stretch that effective range even further. We are no longer saying it is accurate for a lever gun. This is a top-tier, precision-grade rifle that simply happens to be operated by a lever. The Browning BLR refuses to compromise. You get the repeatable accuracy of a bolt gun, the massive terminal ballistics of Magnum cartridges, the rapid follow-up capability of a lever action, all wrapped in a visually stunning package. For the shooter who demands maximum performance without excuses, the Browning BLR is the undisputed king of the hill. These 5 weapon systems absolutely prove that the lever-action platform is not a forgotten relic of the past. It is a highly evolved, modern tactical tool. When firearms engineers integrate rotating bolt lockups and box magazines that safely feed high BC projectiles, these historic designs can easily stand toe-to-toe with modern rifles. Now, I want to hear from the community down in the comments. Which one of these platforms genuinely surprised you today, either with its mechanical accuracy or its modernized feature set? I want to hear about your real-world field experience. Have any of you successfully pushed a lever-action rifle out past the 300-yard line? Let us know exactly what caliber and what specific rifle you were running to get those impacts. Would you like me to break down the best optics setups for these specific lever-action rifles in a future video? If you found this tactical breakdown valuable and you want to see more content like this, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment down below. Stay safe out there, and we will see you on the next one.